What if everything you know, everything you see, touch, and feel wasn't real? What if your entire existence was part of an elaborate illusion, a simulation so convincing that you never questioned its authenticity? That's a crazy idea, isn't it? But some of the brightest minds in science and philosophy are convinced that this may be true. Could we live inside a simulation? Explore. Simulation theory, the idea that our reality is artificial, is not as modern as you might think. Variations of this concept have existed for centuries. Ancient cultures often spoke of the world as an illusion, with philosophies such as the Mayans of Hinduism describing reality as a veil that concealed ultimate truth. But in modern times, the idea was thrust into mainstream discussion by philosopher Nick Bostrom in 2003. Bostrom's influential paper presented a trilemma. Either civilizations destroy themselves before they create realistic simulations, they choose not to create simulations, or we are already living in one of them. Think about it. We already use simulations for countless purposes. We simulate weather models, economic models, and even the formation of the universe. Video games like The Sims allow players to create entire worlds and control every aspect of their inhabitants' lives. As technology advances, it's not far-fetched to imagine simulations so realistic that their inhabitants don't know they're part of a program. But how can we tell if we are in a simulation? Let's start with a fundamental question. Where did it all start? According to science, our universe began with the Big Bang, an explosion of energy and matter from a single point about 14 billion years ago. Before the Big Bang, there was no space or time. But what caused it? Was it a spontaneous event, or did someone press start on a cosmic computer program? Religious perspectives often attribute creation to God, but this leads to another question. Where was God before creating the universe? Whether you're asking a physicist or a theologian, the answers are becoming increasingly abstract, from quantum foam to divine mysteries. But what if the simplest explanation is that someone, somewhere, has started a program? In this scenario, everything from the laws of physics to the flow of time is encoded in the simulation. Now, if we live in a simulation, one would expect problems to occur. Science fiction author Philip K. Dick believed that multiple realities existed, sometimes bleeding into each other. This could explain phenomena such as the Mandela effect, cases in which large groups of people remember events differently from recorded history. For example, many people remember Nelson Mandela's death in prison, even though this is not the case. Others remember the Berenstain Bears as the Berenstain Bears, or Darth Vader who said, "Luke, I'm your father," which he never did. Could these discrepancies be technical issues in the code? Dick also theorized that déjà vu, the strange feeling of having lived a moment earlier, could indicate a change in simulation. If you've ever had the feeling that reality has changed, it may not be your imagination. It could be the simulation that updates itself. Skeptics argue that these are just quirks of human memory, but there's more. Consider Fermi's paradox. If the universe is so vast, where are all the others? According to Drake's equation, there should be millions of advanced civilizations in our galaxy alone, yet we found no evidence of extraterrestrial life. Could it be that the simulation focuses only on us, making the rest of the universe as background data? Another clue lies in the laws of physics. Max Tegmark, a cosmologist at MIT, points out that our universe operates with rigorous mathematical precision. From the speed of light to quantum mechanics, everything follows set rules. James Gates, a theoretical physicist, discovered error-correcting codes of the kind used in computer programming, embedded in string theory equations. If our universe works like a program, it's no wonder it looks like it. But let's go even further into smaller patterns, such as the Fibonacci sequence, that appear throughout nature, from the arrangement of flower petals to the spirals of galaxies. The golden ratio, a mathematical constant, is seen in everything from shells to DNA. Skeptics call it a coincidence, but if these patterns are everywhere, doesn't it suggest clever design? If nature is mathematics, perhaps it is because mathematics is the language of simulation. Now, you might be wondering how far advanced a civilization would have to be to simulate an entire universe. To store the data of every atom, track every interaction, and simulate every person, you'd need a computer far beyond anything we can imagine. Critics, such as Michio Kaku, argue that it is impossible. But simulations don't have to render everything at once. Video games only generate what the player sees. Could our reality work in the same way? This idea brings us to the famous double-slit experiment. When particles such as electrons are fired through two slits, they form an interference pattern, behaving like waves. But when they are observed, they behave like particles, causing the wave pattern to collapse. It is as if the particles know that they are being observed. In a simulation, this makes sense. The program calculates details only when necessary, saving resources. It's not just about particles. Photons from distant galaxies show similar behavior. Retrocausality, when particles appear to change their state by altering their past, further supports the idea of a program running the show. If we are in a simulation, who created it? Some suggest advanced civilizations, others point to God. Interestingly, believers in simulation theory often dismiss the idea of God, considering it an outdated superstition. Yet the concept of a creator outside of time and space is not so different from a programmer's description. Whether you call him God or the creator of simulation, the fundamental question remains, what is the difference? Regardless of whether we are in a simulation, our actions have consequences. Even in a simulated reality, the experiences we create and the connections we build are meaningful. Perhaps this is the most important point. Real or simulated, life is important because we make it important. Thank you for joining me on this journey through simulation theory. If you liked this video, please like it, share it with someone who would find it fascinating, and subscribe to the channel for insights into mysteries like this. Check out the other videos. You'll find many more to pique your curiosity. That said, thank you and see you next time.